That's it. It's garbage. It's all garbage. It's done. Storm Connections. Probably that's it. Is terrible. So as of the game's release and until probably around about today, there has been a lot of mixed opinions about Naruto Storm Connections in regards to if the game is really good or if it's really bad. A lot of people love it and a lot of people hate it. Naruto Storm Connections, I can agree, is in a really weird place right now, and I'm going to be addressing the issues with this game.
Watch your motherfucking tone, boy. Yeah, hurt, boy. Here going on,
So the very obvious thing is that there's a lot of hate-worthy things about the game. Obviously, there's no custom matchmaking still. I mean, yeah, CC2 announced that there wasn't going to be any custom matchmaking when the game was released, but it has been almost a whole month and we have still received nothing, no news or anything at all. I think a few people in the community has actually said before that other companies are often praised with how they are with the community. They're always communicating with their community and updating the player base in terms of how things are coming along. CC2 doesn't really do this much. The only thing they've reached out to us on is the Xbox servers and fixing them. And I don't even think the Xbox servers are even fixed as of this video going up. I don't have an Xbox, so I don't know. Other noteworthy things that I can actually say here is that there is no punishment for rage quitters online. When people rage quit in online ranked, they're not getting BP taken away from them. It actually halts any progress between them and the other player. Obviously, the person rage quitting should be having a punishment, whether it's like a timeout or having BP taken away from them to obviously discourage players from leaving mid-match. But still, there's nothing. All you get is like a little red icon, little red sad face icon on your little record thing in the menu, and that's it. It's not much. It's not a punishment. And now I'm gonna get into the mechanical changes in Connections compared to the other Storm games, and I feel like this is gonna be the heart of the video, and this is what I'm gonna talk about. This video isn't actually a review of me talking about the voice acting and like the story mode and things like that. Like I can recognize that the history mode is bad and that the voice acting is extremely terrible.
So long.
Everybody and their mum has literally talked about that, and I don't really feel like I need to address that on the channel. I've been known more for my competitive aspect in Naruto and playing online and being an absolute online warlord, so I'm going to be talking about the things that affect us online, certain characters, certain jutsus, and mechanical changes that are plaguing everybody to this very day. I think the two things that a lot of people have complaints on is guard breaks really easily, so having a defense in this game is almost little to none. I feel like the complaints about the defense and like how your guard breaks is a lot less nowadays, probably just due to the fact that everybody's getting used to how they're using their supports, which is understandable. Leaning on your supports to get out of certain situations is very key and very useful. And then this kind of ties in with my next point, the armor on Jutsu. I agree that CC2 kind of went overboard with the crack on terms of just buffing every character. It's literally like CC2 just went, hey, let's buff every single character in Naruto Storm Connections, and there isn't gonna be a single weak character. Everybody's gonna have an infinite stun, everybody's gonna have like this crackhead energy on their jutsus, and it's gonna be great. I think they just went a little too far. It seems like the majority of the running jutsus, actually no, if not all of them, are very powerful, except young Kakashi's Chidori. Young Kakashi, he has armor and Chidori and he'll run with it, however, you cannot cancel his Chidori, thus I actually see this to be one of the most balanced running jutsu in the game. But obviously all of your guys' main complaints are at the Rasengans and the Chidoris and the running jutsus that have armor and that can also be cancelled, which I can agree is actually quite problematic. It always has been this thing in Storm games where if you were to have throw out a jutsu or a running jutsu or something, you kind of have to commit to it, or the only other way to get out of it is by leader switching. And even then in Connections, that is actually a very big choice to make, because leader switching, you can't do it from half a support gauge anymore. Leader switching now, you gotta wait till the support gauge is actually full. So if you send out both your supports to do their jutsus, you do a running jutsu, and then if you try to leader switch, you can. But it doesn't matter because you can cancel them with the block button or even by chakra dashing, which in a lot of scenarios will still keep you safe. So like I said, a lot of you are complaining at running jutsus, and I mean, even myself, I've rolled my eyes inside at certain jutsus like Chidoris and Rasengans when I'm getting hit by them in the close quarter combat game, because it can just shut down the whole momentum and the whole excitement and the intensity of close quarters combat. Do I think they should be nerfed? Oh yeah, 100%. I do think they should be nerfed. I'm not gonna sit here and try to defend the fact that these jutsus are very powerful and that they need to be, you know, they should stay the way they are. No, I think that the Rasengans and Chidori should be nerfed to some sort of extent. I actually think that young Kakashi's Chidori is a very good example of what makes a very good running jutsu. Yes, it has armor, but it cannot be cancelled, because a lot of the times is these people are throwing out jutsus and they're able to cancel them and continue something. And then again, on the other hand, there is that case where the armor is actually becoming the problem. I know that a lot of us are actually saying that armor is a problem, and it's not even on running jutsus and on things like that. It's also just like things like Pain's Almighty Push and some other characters that have armor on startup. So maybe it should be a case into which armor should actually be taken away off of a lot of jutsus. Like Rasengans and Chidori should no longer have the armor on startup and can be interrupted like they were in Storm 4. That I'm actually kind of on the fence about, and that I don't really care too much. You see, now this is where I differ from a lot of other content creators and a lot of you. See, the armor on startup, I actually can get around, and that's where I say if you're going to nerf the jutsu, I think don't make them cancelable. Make it so they can't be cancelled by blocking or chakra dashing. If it has armor on startup, then the takeaway should be it cannot be cancelled. And for those of you who are getting bodied by Kiba players, this includes Kiba too. I think if Kiba has armor on his Fang over Fang and he can do the Fang over Fang, he should not be able to chakra dash cancel the Fang over Fang. He can do Fang over Fang and then that's it. His only way to get out of the Fang over Fang and not get punished at the end is to leader switch or just take the L. Because yes, it is annoying when they're throwing out these jutsus and they're hitting you with it, and a part of this is the substitutions, which I'll get into in a little bit. I feel like some of these jutsus actually might need armor, otherwise there's going to be a very low chance that these jutsus will ever hit off. The reason I think as to why these jutsus have armor and why so many jutsus have armor on startup is because they weren't ever used often in Storm 4 or previous Storm games because they didn't have armor, which means they weren't hit very often. I think what CC2 does between every game, and I've said this in my previous videos, is that they look at Storm games and they realize what's getting used too much and what's getting used not enough. And I feel like they put all these times into creating these jutsus and stuff, and jutsus aren't being used often. Yeah, their long-range jutsus like fireballs are being spammed into the long range, that's great, but you're not seeing very many Rasengans or Chidoris being landed in matches often. Especially when two really high-level players are going at it, you don't actually see a lot of Rasengans or Chidoris even being landed, let alone those jutsus even being picked. Because why pick that where you can pick an Inferno Fireball? So CC2 obviously decided to take it upon themselves to buff the running jutsus so that they would be picked more so we could see more of those. But I'm still on the agreement with everybody else. They're unbalanced. They're too powerful. But maybe I wouldn't be opposed if the armor were to actually stay and if they could just restrict the cancelling. That's literally it. Imagine how screwed your opponent would be if they used both their supports already and then they sub behind you, tried using Rasengan, and that's it, they have to commit to the Rasengan. If they have no subs, they're screwed, and if they do have a sub or two, they have to use it. This is where mind games come into play. And then before I get on to the big juicy part of this video that a lot of people are going to find very interesting, let me just address the substitutions real quick. So I like to think that the substitutions are actually part of the reason as to why so many people are complaining about armor on Jutsu, is because a lot of you are chakra dashing at, you know, like a Rasengan or a Chidori starting up, and you swear you're mashing the sub button when you're approaching it because you can see it coming with your reactions, and I'm sure a lot of you got really good reactions. It's just that sub isn't coming out, so you're getting cool. Half of you will respond with, my sub wasn't working, what the hell, why aren't the subs working? And then the other half of you are saying, what the fuck, armor Jutsu's ass. If this Jutsu didn't have armor, I would have interrupted him and stuff. Now, obviously, this is a very situational take, but this is actually where the substitutions need to be fixed. Now, there has actually been clips uploaded on Twitter and stuff, and actually some proof that substitutions do not work.
Bro, I am subbing. That shit needs to be patched, bro.
In fact, in this live stream, my last live stream, I actually had physical proof of my subs not working. I was mashing them for a straight like few seconds, and then when I got hit by the thing I was trying to avoid, I got hit regardless, no matter how much I was using these substitutions. So substitutions aren't actually working the way they're supposed to, or like how they did in previous Storm games. That's definitely a fact. And this is something I can get behind on. Substitutions need to be fixed, because if we are subbing an armored Jutsu, we should be allowed to sub that armored Jutsu. We should be allowed that very moment where we come into contact and we bounce off of that armored segment, you know, the active frame of that Jutsu. If we're mashing sub buttons, we should automatically be allowed to sub it. Subbing in a way is a punishment to yourself. If you are dashing towards something and you're mashing your subs, you are saying, yes, I'm happy to commit to my approach here and I'm mashing my sub buttons. I'm happy to sacrifice a whole sub just to try and get in close to my opponent. So that means I've got to take away one of my subs to try and get closer to an opponent that's going to do a Rasengan or Chidori, then it's fine. Obviously, if this actually works out and the subs are actually fixed, what would happen is that you would dash towards the person who's doing Rasengan or Chidori, you would then sub, and then they'd run away and do their Jutsu, and then so be it. You didn't have to decide whether you chase them or not. And I feel like these changes that I mentioned so far would make a very good fix into the game. I feel like a lot less people would complain about the Rasengans and Chidoris if they could just sub it. So far, I think my main nerf solution to Rasengans and Chidoris is to actually make armored ones non-cancelable, so you cannot cancel them. I feel like this actually might give CC2 the decisions to then decide, that's a good idea to make them non-cancelable, then maybe should we take armor away from certain Rasengans, Chidori's, dynamic entries, and so on? Or even Fang over Fang. If they're gonna take armor away, those jutsus can still be cancelled, however, they can be interrupted on startup. And for all you dash and mash players out there, and this is now gonna segue into my next topic, a lot of you have a very dash and mash playstyle, and you want to interrupt these things because you're used to hitting triangle X and then you're mashing the circle button, which that's okay, we all do it. That's basically one of the base fundamentals of Storm 4, or Storm in general. So I think in terms of balancing, there's an ultimatum at cost when looking at a running jutsu. When things like Chidori, Rasengan, dynamic entry, Fang over Fang, and you know what, even throw in Pain's Almighty Push. I know it's not like a running traveling jutsu, but it still is under the same logic in terms of how it has armor. Just make it so it cannot be cancelled. Now obviously Pain's Almighty Push is actually a good example, but for Pain's Almighty Push, they need to take away that second hit. The fact that you can sub it and then still get hit or take guard damage when you sub inside the freaking bubble is the worst thing ever. Terrible idea. They should have kept the hit properties the same as they were in Storm 4. And then I think a lot of people would complain less about Pain. It would make him a lot more punishable if you could just sub and then just mash him out of his Almighty Push. But yeah, sorry, I got distracted there. Let me get back to the point. With running jutsus, just make it so that if they have armor, they cannot be cancelled. If they don't have armor, they can be cancelled. And then CC2, all you have to do is just decide what characters you want to imply those elements to, and it would give a beautiful variety to a lot of different characters and how we use their jutsu. Easy. Because the thing is, I know that you guys want to see more jutsus in the game, which is why you made jutsu so buffed. I'm talking to CC2 by the way. With the way the combo system works, we can actually imply a lot of these jutsus in combos now, so we're still going to be using those jutsus regardless. Just nerf them. Alright, now here's where I'm calling out you guys, alright? I've spent a good chunk of this video, a good 10 minutes or so of this video, calling out CC2 and how they develop the game. Now, I'm talking to you, the players. The way you react to stuff is straight up garbage, I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, we can all come to an agreement that these jutsus are busted and that subs are broken and stuff, but man, to rage quit on Storm and to uninstall the game and say, oh, the game's garbage, oh, the game's trash, oh, I hate my life. Seriously? No game is ever perfect on release. There's always gonna be broken things. You know, Fighters had it where they had broken things. Tekken had it where it had, like, you know, the very few characters that were good. Literally on one character, like Jack, you use 4 moves and you win the game. It's literally seen in Evo. But people don't complain. They find ways to get over it. I'm literally bodying people with the likes of Ino, Sakura, and Tamari in their swimsuits in ranked. People who are spamming Rasengans and Almighty Pushes against me galore, keep a Fang over Fangs, and yeah, I can beat that with just an Ino Flower Bomb. Like I said, I'm not against you guys. I'm completely with you. These jutsus do need to be nerfed, but instead of just complaining and then slating the game and also talking a lot of shit about the developers, in the meantime, if you really do like Storm as much as you claim you do, and if you think you're as great as Storm as you portray yourself to be, because let's be real, you're getting in your feelings because you just want to dash and mash and you think you're really good at it compared to your friends, then get around it. Everything has a weakness in this game. Everything can be beaten. That is why in tournaments, you're seeing the likes of Voxelizing and Playco and Rage and so others always being at the top percentage. You're seeing Miyamaki always destroying. You're seeing iPower and Mask always destroying and stuff. You're seeing the French players of EU always thriving and doing their best. Because do you know what all those players have in common? Is that they face it head on and then they think of strategies and ways around it and they stop bitching so much. That is literally why they win the way that they do. There are so many of you that are so used to this very brain dead, I'm gonna chakra dash and mash playstyle. Oh yeah, I might switch it up with a few bunny hops here and then I'll jump over the jutsu and I'll chakra dash and mash some more. But Storm is a lot more than that. You're just upset connections because you can't dash and mash. Sort yourself out. Just have a little bit more patience, honestly. Yes, these jutsus have armor, and yes, these things are very overpowered. And yeah, that Tao Beast from Naruto bullet jutsu, or whatever you want to call it, is very annoying. Honestly, if you just flick your right analog stick, if you literally just do that, you beat the jutsu. You leader switch to the next character, the jutsu's tracked on your previous character. So all I do is that I just flick this and then I do that and then operate opposite direction. I beat the jutsu. I dismantled his whole approach. And then when he dashes me, because he will do a full dash usually, I'll counter I get a free combo off, or a free jutsu, or there's no subs, a normal jutsu. It's literally as simple as that. I mean, to be honest, at this point, I am now just rambling. Like, I've actually got my points across. I know that the game is in a really weird state right now. There's a lot of reasons to be upset at it, and there's a lot of negative connotation around Storm Connections. I am not the person trying to find broken stuff. In fact, if anything, I'm the one trying to fix it, or I'm trying to teach you all how to get around the broken stuff. I've heard accusations against me within the community about me trying to find and expose broken tech and trying to use broken tech, when I was the one player who jutsu buffered the least in Storm 4. I was beating ass and I was winning tournaments in 2019 and during lockdown, and I was actually getting second place to Giza a lot without buffering. I beated those who buffered against me with the likes of Kirin Sasuke, and I cannot be ever the one to be accused of using broken stuff. I can find broken stuff and show it, but I wouldn't ever try to abuse it. I would actually highlight it to talk about why it needs to be fixed. In my PTS Shino video, I actually showcase why PTS Shino is so overpowered. But in the video, I actually talked about the weakness that he has. Range. He's only good close range. And why is that a problem to a lot of you? Because to the returning factor, you all want to dash and mash. That brain dead playstyle of yours. Trust me, take it from somebody who wins a lot. Anyways, this video is getting long enough. I've made my points, I've made my status. I hope that CC2 do balance the game for not only my sake, but for all of your sakes too. But the way in which you react to the game is actually quite poor. And this is a lot of the ways in which the community would react is actually why CC2 would probably give up on doing anything for the game. I'm not gonna lie, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero obviously got announced with its gameplay trailer. I mean, it's been announced for a while, but Sparking Zero has got a beautiful gameplay trailer. We've all reacted and it's looking very exciting, and I'm really loving the positivity around it, and I'm excited for it. I might actually cover it on the channel. But in regards to Connections, the game does have room to get better. It's just us as a community, it depends how we respond to it. If you respond negatively, the game is just going to respond in a negative pit of despair. It's as simple as that. Anyways, as always, it's been your boy Poison Akami. Janet.